one music industry secret no one tells you is that you cannot get rich under a record label. With only 20% of the profit left after releasing a huge track, musicians are forced to dump this scam. Those who insist on staying back are compelled to sell their souls to the devil. The music industry is a myriad of spooky stories, some of which you'll see in this video. Every talented singer hopes to join the budding music industry someday. They are blinded by the facade that soon after joining, they'll land a deal with famous record labels, perform at high-paying shows, collaborate with superstars, and make so much money from their craft. According to a study by Next Big Sound, only 0.2% of artists are megastars, 0.9% mainstream, 1.4% mid-sized, and 6.8% developing. The remaining 90.7% are undiscovered their whole lives. Have you ever wondered why a music artist suddenly goes under the radar a few months after he was the talk of the town? Of course, the figures don't lie. No doubt, musicians are hard-working people, but the music industry rewards more than hard work. There's more to it than meets the eye. Let's begin with the craze to become part of a profitable label. These institutions are a stepping stone for every musician's career. They not only promote your art, they also manage you by giving you a favourable public image. Our record label's the holy grail. You be the judge. Yeah, I know this sounds vague, but you'll understand better soon. The record label industry is dirty, and the people there know it. It is not only exploitative, but detrimental to creative people. It starts with a passionate young adult seeking to promote their career by all means. Then, along the line, they join a promising label. Years later, this passion is replaced by cynicism. They realise they've been tricked, but can't do anything. The first thing to know about this label is that signing a deal means signing away the possibility of making money off your record sales. Sounds ironic, right? According to The Root, an authority in the music industry, for every $1,000 in music sold, the average amount a recording artist makes is $23.40. And no, this isn't because music is difficult to profit from. We all know that modern musicians can diversify their income much more than they did many years ago. However, the average musical label is an organisation with crazy fees, recoup clauses, and hidden costs only the management can explain. Things are even better now, or slightly better than they were years ago. One common clause among modern record deal contracts is breakage. There used to be a justifiable history for the fee. In the days of vinyl, shipping music across different countries resulted in a few broken records. Therefore, these labels charge 20% as breakage fee. That means the record industry insinuated that 1 out of every 5 vinyl records broke in transit. Let's just say things can happen, and they experience such losses, but these guys remain committed to their shady deals. Years later, cassette tapes and CDs became the order of the day. They were sturdier and did not break easily like vinyl. You would think this deterred companies from their illegal 20% charge. They continued. Even if we make a case that CDs may still break in transit if not handled properly, we can be correct. Today, streaming sites generate most of the revenue from music, so we assume that artists would not be bent over barrels to pay for what they don't need. Sorry to burst your bubbles. They've now renamed this charge and called it digital breakage. Heck, no one is breaking anything. These managers don't want you to consider the crazy charges. They prefer you focus on the large upfront number. By the time it comes, you realise that you've paid 50 to 90% of your revenue to them. About royalties, they're not even as much as you think. Don't worry about that budding artist working for a label who reportedly buys houses and cars to show off. We can excuse them because they probably have wealthy parents or partners. The real deal is that royalties are calculated out of profit. These record labels deduct all expenses incurred from creating your album from your profit. After that, you get 20% or less left. You don't even want to know the inflated costs they incur to inflate their profit. And you know what's even worse? You sponsor the editing, songwriting, tracking, mixing, marketing, and everything in between. If you were an independent musician, you'd make do with average producers, songwriters, and a regular studio to produce your song. However, with record labels, an expensive production crew is slammed on you. Too bad you don't have a say. This technique is so you're deemed marketable for their gains. Tell them you're not interested in the big names and they will show you the way out. Unfortunately, many artists gleefully fall into this trap because they can't possibly market themselves. They want to gain some level of fame and independence first before jetting out. Record labels are not a free pass to fame. Moses Avalon, a music veteran with over 30 years of experience in the music industry, said the odds of becoming successful under a music label are slim. He says that 99% of those who sign to major labels each year never get to release their first album. In fact, 0.2% of acts signed to a major label manage to avoid getting dropped from that label in the process of fulfilling their contract. These guys are attracted to you because you have money or a huge following on social media. If you don't have any of these, don't bother writing to them because there's no vacancy for you. With at least 100,000 followers across relevant social media channels, you'll see them littered in your DM. They'll tell you how your music can change the world and how you're on your way to becoming the next Beyoncé. They take you to Spotify and preach your goodness to them to convince you that you've arrived. Please don't get too excited this period because it's all a trap. They will only help you market your songs when you've gone viral on a few social media platforms like TikTok. When Trevor Daniel went viral on TikTok, he landed a deal with Alamo Records and felt that he had arrived. 1 year later, he told Rolling Stone that his label wouldn't allow him to release his major label debut unless he went viral again. He was stuck with his first song and would only move a step further if he replicated the success of the first song. So what? Why do they have marketers on the label? This reinforces my earlier point that these labels do not market your craft. You do all of that yourself, except you get lucky. And what's it they say about luck? Success is simply a matter of luck. I could go on and on about music labels and the lengths they go to rip young artists off their hard-earned money. The only reason they get away with it is that no one says anything. They thrive in the silence of their victims. Most business deals spanning over a century have had a thing or two to do with mafias. The music industry is not left out. This story is not one many love to hear, but it should be told regardless. Mafias were once prominent voices in the music industry. Several suspicious characters, like the Italian and Jewish mobs, played a role in developing musical ventures. The music industry interested the mob for many reasons. First, music became more popular in the 20th century when most transactions were made in cash, especially drink sales, artist revenue, jukebox takings, and vinyl sales. At the time, the industry had new releases as it did now, and albums were always available on the shelves. This meant there was money to be made every time. Music was also the central focus of most major mafia-owned institutions like bars and nightclubs. With the digitalization of the music industry and the reduction of cash payments, the mob has largely left the industry. Some experts argue that their influence is exaggerated. Aside from the profit they made, they were initially involved in the music industry to protect an artist and help them become successful. After these artists achieve their goals, they turn against them to intimidate and extort them. It's impossible to discuss how organised crime infiltrated the music industry without mentioning Maurice Levy. He was a music producer and the founder of Roulette Records. His company's reach was so extensive that it was nicknamed the Octopus. Many didn't know that he was a Jewish gangster and an active participant in organised crime. Levy was answerable to Vincent Gigante, his boss. In 1966, Tommy James released his first hit, Hanky Panky. Due to its unprecedented success, he travelled to New York to negotiate a record contract for his band, the Shondells. After weighing the offers from other labels, he settled for Maurice Levy's Roulette Records. The next day, James noticed that the offer was retrieved, and the label threatened him. It was then that he realised he had been fooled into signing a fake contract. Levy fraudulently listed himself as the publisher of the songs he produced, thereby keeping the royalties and publishing rights to himself. The rightful artists were stripped of their efforts and investment, but it didn't end there. He pirated the master tapes of major artists and duplicated them for sale. Most of what was sold in stores were counterfeit copies at a cheaper rate. The heartbroken artists would see their songs selling at giveaway prices on random shelves. They would come to him complaining about piracy, and he promised to help them. He even charged hundreds of thousands of dollars to stop the criminal while he did nothing. He made money from extorting these naive artists while selling their songs illegally. After some artists noticed the shady dealings, they threatened to expose him, but couldn't make do with their threats because he had mafia connections. I'm tempted to say that modern record labels operate like Levy, except they cannot pirate songs like in the past. In 1980, Nate, Levy's bodyguard, was murdered, and he was suspected of being involved in it. He denied the allegation and moved on as if nothing had happened. He was finally convicted of extortion in 1990 after the FBI investigated and found him guilty. He died of natural causes before turning himself in. Aside from Levy's music label, many budding labels once had ties with mafias as it helped them promote their artists and evade the consequences of their actions. Unfortunately, these artists fall victim to their antics and never know when they've gotten into trouble until it was too late. We cannot exhaust all mafia activities in the music industry in one video. Let us know in the comments box below if you'd like us to do another video on mafias in the music industry. 21st century musicians may be lucky enough to not have been born in the era, but are still caught in the web of rape and abuse. This menace is one no one wants to talk about, because many stars will be affected. Unfortunately, we must expound on it to reduce the number of victims. The music industry might seem rosy on the outside, but there's a lot more going on underground than we can cover here. One of the industry's darkest secrets is that wealthy men use their wealth and status to exploit women. Notable music stars like Lady Gaga had, at some point, revealed they were victims of abuse. Abuse works this way. Someone uses fame and wealth to suppress a weaker person and take advantage of them. Imagine a talented young woman asking that a famous producer produce her song. Despite the quality of her work and talent, the producer asks for something in return. Because she's scared that her music career will die, she gives in and does his bidding. Stories like these are common in the music industry. After R&B singer R. Kelly was convicted in 2021 on multiple counts of sexual abuse in a Chicago court, the world was at peace. Victims of abuse globally got closure from the judgment. Kelly escaped justice for way too long, until he couldn't. He used his money, fame, and power for over 2 decades to lure young girls into sleeping with him. These naive girls would think it was an offence to not accede to his demands since he was popular. Witnesses testified in court how he subjected them to sadistic behaviour when they were underage. He would not only beat them, but control their behaviours. He isolated his victims in hotel rooms or his recording studio and subjected them to absurd rules. One witness confessed that he forced her to film degrading videos as punishment for her wrongdoing. When it's not abusers like R. Kelly taking advantage of younger girls, it is music producers demanding sexual pleasure in exchange for fame. Aside from Kelly, Russell Simmons, Charlie Walk, L.A. Reid, Andrew Lack, and others have been associated in all kinds of abuse. Although cases of abuse are not new, they gained traction in recent years. Many of the abusers have been too scared to speak up since they didn't trust the hypocritical society, and the courts were not helping matters. In a society where women are blamed when abused or raped, it is harder to speak up and stand by yourself. These victims also feared losing their careers, so keeping mute was part of the strategies that kept them relevant. Some critics blame the industry for covering the tracks of abusers. Although it denies it, there are all indications that this may be true. One incident to draw lessons from was the case of the tech giant Alibaba. When a female worker reported an issue of sexual harassment, the company's management shoved it aside. Somehow, it made its way to social media and the rest was history. The management was compelled to take action after it escalated. The music industry operates similarly. It is careful not to respond to an issue in a certain way because it affects the star's reputation. This connivance doesn't help victims as it encourages the culture of silence. Objectification is another tactic the industry uses to silence new musicians. It doesn't tell you to be scantily dressed, but you get in there and see how it's done. Imitating your colleagues is part of the rituals that welcome you into the fold. The new artist goes out to perform, and once they're on stage, they start to pull out their dress so that the crowd screams in ecstasy. The music industry is okay with sexualizing you, so it's fine. Do you ever wonder what happens when fans grope their favourite artist in their privates? How does the industry respond to this? They are obviously silent. Unfortunately, objectification takes the spotlight away from their art and focuses on their sexiness. You'll be shocked at the number of people holding on from joining the industry. Those who want to be decent and famous rarely make headway here. While you're still considering joining the music industry, here's a quick question. Are you ready to make a pact with the devil? This may sound like a lot, but it's normal in this industry. No one wants you to know till you get in. Some artists embrace the devil as a powerful companion before coming into the music industry. They believed talent alone was insufficient to keep one at the top. We've watched music videos and danced to the lyrics of our favourite songs, but didn't pay attention to some hidden meanings. These creatives are so secretive that they conceal these signs and symbols from the public. Others are direct about their source of fame and power. They credited it to the devil and admitted to receiving supernatural assistance from him in exchange for their soul. Some real stories will convince you. Have you heard about Robert Johnson? He was a young guitarist that played in dance clubs in the 1930s. He began learning to play the instrument as a teenager, but didn't have the talent and ear coordination to push through. He would perform on stage, but he was booed out a few minutes into the performance. It happened so much that the club owners started banning him from playing on their stage, as it was bad for business. One day, Robert disappeared without a trace. Everyone thought he moved to a new city to find clubs to hire him, while others said he was probably too ashamed of the life he lived. One day, he appeared out of the blue as if nothing had happened. His curious friends asked where he went, but he said he didn't know. He claimed that he only recalled making a deal with the devil and selling his soul for musical talent. I'm not one to judge if this was true or not, but those who watched him said it felt like two people playing at once. Other musicians who knew him said there was no way he'd be this good within a short period. This story was retold in music, film, and books, and became the most famous imitations in the music industry. Modern musicians like Marilyn Manson were given an honorary priesthood in the Church of Satan and claimed to have had several encounters with Lucifer. Critics say these artists could be exploiting our obsession with the occult to capture attention. On the flip side, it is not a coincidence that more musicians own up to their affiliation with the devil. Like Robert Johnson, the devil could be waiting on the side of impatient aspirants. The rejection part of the industry is what many are not ready for. You can skip this section if you think it's too hard to bear, but please don't, because it's the last segment. Some say music is food for the soul, but don't tell us the kind of music that nourishes the soul better. Many musicians have had to walk out of a group disappointed because they were told their music was subpar. Others have given up on their career after getting a resounding no. This two-letter word is a hard pill to swallow, but it's an unavoidable part of life. Regardless of your industry, you'll be denied something you want dearly, and this denial can make or mar your career. You think you have the best voice in the world, but after giving what you think was your best, they ask you to return next year because you were not good enough. Here's why. Musicians are different and serve diverse purposes. If you get a no often, it is one of two things. You are either too underdeveloped to be taken seriously, or put it before the wrong people. A crucial fact that many musicians ignore is that they are making music in an unprecedented era with stiff competition. These days, almost anyone can sing and make it big. Not only are there many humans on this planet, there are also more talented, probably more than you. How do upcoming musicians thrive in this industry where no is a go-to word? Shame and anger are usually the first reactions to rejection. It doesn't sound right even when it comes from a place of pure love and sincerity. We are told that the greatest artists were once rejected, which motivated them to improve. This story sounds like a myth until it happens to you. Accepting rejection as a part of growth and not taking it seriously can shorten your career's lifespan. Everyone is so busy trying to make ends meet in the industry that they don't tell you this. Only musicians who look past the several rejections keep their careers afloat. Music is not clean air. If it were, no one would reject it, despite its form. The music industry might have its dark sides, but it's worth the try. The superstars you adore today have passed through these difficult stages. You can too, if you accept these dark truths. What's the weirdest thing you've heard about musicians? Please tell us in the comment section below. Like and subscribe to Incredibler if you haven't already.